Wellen Park versus North Venice. It's an interesting conversation that we have to have. If you're thinking about moving to the area, let's get started. So first of all, I'm sure you've probably heard about Wellen Park because you've been checking out the Venice area, Northport area. But North Venice might be a little bit new to you, but you'll learn more about it as we go throughout this video. But I think it's definitely something that should be in the conversation because it offers a lot of the similar benefits that Wellen Park does, but there's also some important differences. So we'll go through some different categories and criteria and talk about the differences between the two. By the way, if you're not familiar with the channel, we help people that are looking to move to the Venice, Wellen Park, Northport, North Venice areas. If that's something of interest to you, we would love to help you out. Call or text our team 941-221-1897. We'll always have your best interest in mind. First of all, location. Now, when you're talking about the two, there's some big differences as far as what cities they're nearby. So when you're talking about Wellen Park, you're obviously really close to Northport because technically most of it is considered Northport, and your address could be Northport, could be Venice, kind of depends on where you're located in it. But if you like take pictures or whatever and you have your location services turned on, some of it might show up as Inglewood, some might show up as Venice, and some might show up as Northport. So that's one thing to consider, is kind of, you know, that you're between those three cities, and those are going to be like your main hubs as far as things to do. Now each of those areas has a lot to offer. You've got Inglewood, which has more of an old Florida feel downtown, the historic downtown on Dearborn Street, and one of the biggest farmers markets I've seen for a small city of their size. Thursdays, it's huge. It's really, really remarkable, actually. And then, of course, you've got Venice, which they've got their farmers market, their big downtown, lots to offer there, tons to do there. We'll talk more about that when we get to the North Venice comparison as far as location goes. And then you also have got Northport, of course, which Northport has a little bit more big box stores that you're not going to get in Venice. Like, Venice has a lot of big box stores, don't get me wrong, but there's a little bit more to offer. Certain ones that you're not going to get, like a Dick's Sporting Goods, you know, certain restaurants and things like that are chains, as far as like Buffalo Wild Wings and things like that. So you're going to get a little bit more offerings on that side of things in Northport. So being in between all three of those areas in Wellen Park is great because you get the advantage of all those. But one thing to note is all three of those areas are kind of small-ish cities. Now, when we talk about North Venice, this is where things start to get different right away. It's the location as far as putting you closer to, you're pretty close to all those things. You could still enjoy Wellen Park's downtown. You could definitely do Northport, a little bit more of a drive there, and Inglewood would be even more of a drive. But it puts you closer to Nokomis, which, small-ish town, basically more or less feels like, you know, it's part of Venice. But then also what's the biggest thing is it puts you closer to Sarasota, which Sarasota is a much bigger city. So that's going to give you a lot more opportunity as far as big city stuff to do. All the big box stores you could really want as far as, you know, that goes. You know, you can go up to the UTC mall and the UTC shopping area, and literally anything you want is going to be there. Lots of highly rated restaurants in Sarasota, and, you know, just a lot more of a big city feel. The downtown's got, you know, more like mid-rise buildings and things like that. You've got multiple downtowns to pick from within Sarasota. So there's a lot of possibilities there for different things to do. That being said, being in Wellen Park, it's not like you don't get those options. It just makes it a little bit more of a drive. You're talking about maybe a 45-ish minute, 40 to 45-ish minute drive, maybe down to 30, depending on what end of town you're on in Wellen Park and what end of Sarasota you're trying to get to. But, you know, those are options that are there, but it's just a little bit longer of a drive. Whereas if you're in the North Venice area, you could be looking at anywhere from like 15 minutes up to, like, I'd say about 30 minutes. So that's kind of an advantage there. Next, as far as location goes, this is a big one, the beaches, right? So a lot of people think of Wellen Park as being this awesome master plan community that's close to the beach, one of the last opportunities for that in all of Florida, which is amazing, right? And North Venice either isn't on people's radar because they just never heard of it or don't know about it, and or they might think of it as being, you know, kind of a little bit further away from the beach, but you're actually closer to the beach in North Venice. So that's something interesting to consider. You're talking about maybe a 15-minute drive to get to Nokomis Beach, maybe a little more than that to get to Venice Beach. Whereas with Wellen Park, closest beach, you're looking at maybe 15 minutes, depending on what community you're in, you know, and this will also change with North Venice, but with Wellen Park, you're talking at least a 15-minute drive, probably more like 20, 25 minutes, maybe even up to 30. So with North Venice overall, you're going to get quicker access to the beaches. And with one other thing to note with all that is there's a lot of opportunity as far as getting up to Sarasota more quickly as well, just because a lot of North Venice, it's very close to 75, and it puts you a little bit more inland, kind of. It's hard to explain just because of the way the coast moves up, but overall it's going to put you a little bit closer to 75. So as far as quick access to bigger cities and other cities and quick access to the beaches, I'm probably going to give a slight nod to North Venice, just because you get access to the big city, plus the smaller cities are still really close, like downtown Venice. You're talking about being closer actually in North Venice too. That's another perk. So, you know, you got that access a little bit quicker than Wellen Park will, although Wellen Park does have their own downtown, which I'm walking around in this video. So this is where things start to get really different, and they seem similar, but they're really not. So Wellen Park and North Venice are very similar in the fact that they both have a lot of planned gated, or not all of them are gated, but most of them are gated communities really close to each other, right? They're all kind of like in this cluster. The difference is Wellen Park's master planned, North Venice, not really. And the reason this is such an important thing is it's going to come into some of these other criteria that we're going to talk about right now. First being walkability. So getting to the downtown in Wellen Park is possible walking, golf carting. You know, they have designated golf cart lanes and bike lanes and golf cart parking spots and things like that throughout the entire area. And everything's very well interconnected on a lot of more kind of quiet type roads that you can get to, you know, just about anywhere if you really wanted to. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean, you know, for the average Joe that they would necessarily want to or be able to do that just because of the distance. But if you're in the right community, it's completely possible to, you know, walk to the downtown, or jog, or definitely bike, or for sure golf cart. So that's one of the things that differentiates North Venice and Wellen Park. Plus you've got like what's behind me here, like all these, you know, trails and things like that. You know, a lot of the communities will have trails like that in them, and that's the case for some of North Venice as well. The difference is, though, you can walk through those trails, and then you'll have other different, you know, very walk-friendly and bike-friendly and golf cart-friendly lanes to get to the downtown or to the Publix, or, you know, things along those lines, or to the, you know, Atlanta Braves spring training facility. And I think all those things that I just mentioned are also one of the things that differentiate it from North Venice. So, like North Venice, to get to the, you know, different things to do and things like that, you can walk. It's possible. It's just not going to feel like it's made for it, if that makes sense. You know, there's not all the space on the sidewalks, not all the landscaping and the beautiful views, and the trails that look like they were really made for walking to get places. Whereas in North Venice, it feels like it's more made for driving, right? Just cars, and it's not as pedestrian friendly, or maybe not, it's pedestrian friendly, but it doesn't feel like it was built for you to go walk around, if that makes sense. So I think that's one of the biggest differences. And then the next big difference with it being master planned would be the downtown, right? You've got a downtown here. Now, speculation 100% on my part here, but just seeing how North Venice is, you know, kind of connecting little by little Sarasota and / Nokomis, Osprey, and Venice as it heads north and heads east. I feel like, give it enough time, and seeing the success of this downtown, and a lot of people, you know, wanting that. They don't want the suburban sprawl without access to, you know, social gathering places and access to, you know, restaurants, shopping, and things like that. A lot of people just don't like that about the suburbs, and this has kind of been a solution, right? Having a downtown in the middle of all that. I feel like, give it enough time, we might see that north or east for the North Venice area. Again, that's just speculation, but that's neither here nor there right now, because the fact of the matter is, Wellen Park's the one that does have it. It's built and it's continuing to grow. They're in phase 1. They're going to be building phase 2. I'll link you to a video at the end that'll talk more about that, and we'll go into detail as far as what's coming. But the fact of the matter is that they have this. They have these trails. They've got, you know, this big lake in the downtown that you can walk around. North Venice doesn't really have any of that kind of stuff. On the flip side, they are building some things on the North Venice area as far as like near the highway. They've got a lot more fast food places. They're more like drive-through type places, a Starbucks, you know, all that kind of stuff is going in there. So there are some more amenities and things coming to that end of the town. The brand new hospital that was built there, the new Sarasota Memorial, is right, you know, in that North Venice area. But at the same time, they're building a new hospital right here in Wellen Park. So as far as like immediate amenities, and, you know, having that excitement and a new downtown and things like that, I think Wellen Park might beat out North Venice, even though, again, North Venice, you're so close to downtown, actual Venice, that it's kind of like your own downtown, right? You're kind of part of that area. It's just not quite as, you know, built the same as far as ease of access to walk and bike to get to those different, you know, amenities and things like that. So I think that's one thing to consider, but both have a lot of new stuff coming in the areas. It's just different the way, you know, the types of things that are coming and the way the infrastructure is being built. Okay, so far we've given you an idea between the main differences in location and the infrastructure and just, you know, the overall feel of the communities. But let's talk a little bit more about the future. So like I mentioned, you know, I don't think it's out of the question to see either a downtown or just some sort of, you know, an entertainment amenity type thing coming to the North Venice area. There's something splashing in the water behind me. He's making some pretty big splashes, but I don't think having that happen is out of the question. Now, that being said, I don't know that, right? We don't know that. It would make sense as things move along that that's the way things would go, but at the end of the day, there's no confirmation of that. So when we talk about the future, as far as that goes, like, Wellen Park is, you kind of know what you're getting. You definitely know what you're getting. You don't know everything else that's coming, but as far as, you know, appreciation and just where the area, how the area is going to develop, you got to think about a few other key things with Wellen Park versus North Venice. Number one, they've already got the College Preparatory Academy School, and so they've already got that there, but they're not stopping there. They've got a high school coming into the area too, right? So that's going to change the feel of the area and kind of continue to make Wellen Park its own thing. I feel like North Venice is like what it sounds like. You're on the north end of Venice, you're kind of part of Venice, but you're kind of your own area, whereas Wellen Park, a lot of people will leave comments all the time saying like, okay, yeah, that's actually Northport. Well, yes, you know, as far as your utilities and all that goes, yes, but it feels very much like its own thing. Like when you get to the edge of like where the shopping and stuff is on Northport and the edge where the shopping is on Venice, there's like a break in that until you get to the Wellen Park area, and it feels sort of separated and like it's its own thing. And they're very much building it that way. And in fact, they've actually been trying to legally separate themselves from Northport. That's a whole other story. But the point is, they're very much building things to make it their own, right? They're trying to make it their own city. So with the high school coming, you know, having their own schools already, more coming on the way. Phase 2 of a downtown, you know, Northport doesn't even have an actual like downtown. The Wellen Park one's supposed to kind of be their downtown, even though it's like really far from the center of where Northport is, right? So it's kind of becoming its own thing and having its own amenities. Plus, I think one of the big things is they've got their own Publix, and they just recently completed their own Costco. So with that, you can see, okay, like, things are coming, things are already here, things are going to continue to develop, and I think you're going to see a lot of appreciation because of that, because of the amenities that are now here. You know, before it was kind of like speculation and excitement. In fact, we've had clients that came from like other states and things like that and said like, we moved into this HOA community or this planned community, and they said there was going to be this downtown, and it never happened, right? So I think there was some of that worry from people that they were coming to this area and they were kind of thinking to themselves like, okay, this looks cool, but how do I know this isn't going to be the same thing? How do I know this downtown is going to get completed? Well, not now that phase 1 is done. Phase 2 is in the works, which will double it. You've already got the Costco, you've got your Publix, you've like got everything you need right here. A lot of that speculation can now go out the window. People are like, no, it's here. It already exists. And that kind of shows you the proof that, okay, this phase 2 stuff, there's a really good chance that it's going to happen. And it is going to happen. In fact, there's tons of construction going on right now. They're literally building all of the stuff that they're talking about. So I think those are some important things to consider with as far as appreciation in the future. You know, obviously within each individual community that's within Wellen Park or within the North Venice area, they're going to have, you know, some amenities. Each one's going to be different. They might have a pool. Some might even have a restaurant and a bar. You know, some are going to have pickleball, tennis. You know, there's all those different amenities. And those you can 100% count on being there. Everything else, it's a little bit harder to know for sure. But again, with Wellen Park, at this point, it's all but, you know, 100% positive that it's going to happen because phase 1's done and phase 2 is there. So because of that, the excitement for it is bigger now. It's already been at least halfway realized, probably 2/3 of the way realized realistically when you talk about the amount of communities that have already been built and the amount of people that are already here. And so because of that, the appreciation already has been great, but I think it's going to be even greater as more of phase 2 comes, the new hospital comes, and the medical facilities, and all the other things that are going to come to the area. That's going to just increase that appreciation even more. North Venice, I think you're going to see a very similar thing. I just think it's going to take a little bit longer because right now it doesn't have as much of an identity, if that makes sense. And that's not to knock North Venice and say it's a bad area and you're out on your own. Like if you go through that area, it's beautiful. It really, really is. All the communities are beautiful. You get quicker access to the beach, quicker access to Sarasota. But I think it's going to take a little bit more of that growing and a little bit of that pushing a little more towards Sarasota before you start to see more amenities coming right to that area. Now, the hospital being there was already a big one, right? And you can start to see more development happening on that end of town already. And with it being a little bit more feeling like part of Venice, I think your appreciation already is going to be great. The values already there are pretty good, but I think you're going to see a little bit more of that a little further down the road. So in one way, if you're looking to hold on to a place for a really long time, I'd say, you know, 5, 10 at least years, if not longer, you're probably going to see just as much, if not more appreciation, I think, the longer you wait. But that's really remains to be seen because of, you know, I mean, this downtown is amazing and everything that's coming to Wellen Park is great. So that being said, I think it's just going to depend on the person. There's definitely pros and cons to each area. Each has a little bit more of an upside. You know, it just depends on location, I think, would be one of the main things. And then the amenities, right? What do you want out of your location? What do you want to be close to? Is being near bigger cities important to you? Is having all the amenities that you want right here, right now important? You know, then I think maybe going the North Venice route might make a little more sense, just because you're a little bit closer to the beaches. Not a ton, but, you know, I'd say 5, 10, 15 minutes closer, depending on what area from each, you know, different possibility between Wellen Park and North Venice that you're thinking about moving to. And then on top of that, all the amenities of downtown Venice and just, you know, all the shopping and things like that already exist in Venice. Whereas with Wellen Park, you're a little bit further away from lots of amenities. You're gonna have to drive a little bit to get to the North Port area to get certain amenities, or to the South Venice area, and, you know, some of the shopping and things like that are there, which there's a ton there. You know, you got your Walmart, you've got a Walmart neighborhood market in Northport and things like that. You got Target, you know, a whole bunch of stuff on the South Venice area as well. So there are a lot of options. It's just that they're not right here, right now. Right now, you kind of got Costco, you got Publix, and you got, you know, a bunch of restaurants and things like that in the downtown, but and a few shops, but not as much of the big box stuff. But if you want something maybe a little more walkable, a nice downtown, you know, lots of amenities, and then the excitement of things to come, then I think, you know, the Wellen Park area is a little bit more primed for you, just because it's kind of set up to be exactly all those things, right? And as it grows, it's going to get only bigger and better, and more things coming. And at the same time, you know, all those things that you're closer to in North Venice, you're still going to have access to. It's just going to take you a little bit longer, you know, add 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes to get to those different things. And that's really the main difference. But leave a comment. Let me know which of the two you find more appealing. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the area, get a hold of our real estate team. We would love to help you out. We'll always have your best interest in mind. The phone number is 941-221-1897. Call or text us anytime. We'd love to help you out. And if you want to know more about what's coming in Phase 2 Wellen Park, check out this video right here. And if you want to know more details about living in North Venice, check out this video. Wellen Park, check out this video. Thanks for watching, and live breezy.